tongue, love, heard your flattering tongue. I truly understand you love another man, and your heart shall no longer be mine. I truly understand you love another man, and your heart shall no longer be mine. Now who's gonna shoe your pretty little foot? Who's gonna glove your hand? And who'll still be your own true love? I'm in a foreign land, love, I'm in a foreign land. I truly understand you love another man, and your heart shall no longer be mine. I truly understand you love another man, and your heart shall no longer be mine. Now Pop's gonna shoe my pretty little foot, Mom's gonna glove my hand, and you'll still be my own true love. I'm in a foreign land, love, I'm in a foreign land. I truly understand you love another man, and your heart shall no longer be mine. I truly understand you love another man, and your heart shall no longer be mine. I'm never gonna look at another woman's head, whether her hair be black or brown. I'd rather be on the top of that hill, rain pouring down, down, rain pouring down. I truly understand you love another man, and your heart shall no longer be mine. I truly understand you love another man, and your heart shall no longer be mine.
Alright, let's do a measure-by-measure breakdown of I Truly Understand. Unlike the fiddle tunes that usually have two parts, an A and a B part, this is actually a song with lyrics, so this I've divided up into verse and chorus. So we'll just play and learn the tune straight through as written in the tab, but notice I believe it's the first 4 lines of the tab will illustrate the verse portion of the song, and the remaining lines, I believe there might be another 6 lines there for the chorus of the song. And you'll have to repeat the verses and choruses as you see fit to stick with the arrangement of the song. Alright, measure number 1 will look and sound like this. Doing some basic strum followed by some drop thumbing, and you'll notice I weave in that 2nd fret note right at the end of the measure. And that'll take us to measure number 2. First half of the measure is some basic strumming with some melody notes weaved in. And then some drop thumbing. Third measure of the first line, just an open G chord, strummed openly. And that'll take us into the second line. Again, we're just working over this open G chord. The second line is actually a repeat of the first measure of the tune. take us to the second measure on this line, and this is really similar to the second measure of the first line, but we have a little slightly different ending to this measure as opposed to its cousin up there on line 1. I'll go ahead and play measure 2 for you. So we have a basic strum with some notes weaved in for the first half of the measure, boom, chicka. Then we have a basic strum with a phantom stroke thrown in, so this is all open, boom, chicka, boom, chicka. That's the second half of the measure. If you're not familiar with phantom strokes, you could try to intuit what we're talking about here, just following along the lesson. Essentially anything you see in parentheses, you still make the motion like you would play it, but you actually miss that note. If you want some further elaboration, when you get to the end of this lesson, if you still need some further elaboration, you can check out the 30 Days to Better Banjo course at the old website at playbetterbanjo.com. But I think you'll get what you need right here. Let me play that measure for you in its entirety. This is measure 2, line 2. And that'll take us into measure 3 on this line, just some open strumming featuring that open first string for our boom note. And that'll take us into line 3, measure 1. Here we see some familiar ideas, but we start out this measure with the drop thumb, weaving in that second fret note on the first string. And then the second half of that measure should look familiar, weaving that third and second fret note into a boom chicka. The next measure, measure 2 on this line, will also look familiar to you. You'll see that we have a lot of the same melodic ideas. They've just kind of shifted as to where they're falling into the measures. Here's measure number 2, line 3. Do that for you again. And that'll bring us to measure 3 on this line. Again, just a couple basic strums. That second basic strum in the measure is we split that boom note by hammering on to the second fret on that third string. And that'll take us to the fourth line, first measure. Just a couple basic strums. That first boom note split with a pull off, otherwise same old stuff. Let's look at measure number 2 on this line. Just some variations on the same ideas. Boom, chicka, boom, chicka. Remember, if you're having trouble conceptualizing a particular measure, do your best to see if you can break it into that boom chicka terminology, boom chicka terminology. That might help you make sense of it. One more time, I'll play that second measure for you. And of course, we'll just end on the last measure of this line. Just a couple strums over the G chord. And that concludes the verse portion of the song. That's what we're playing when we're singing the verses, or if you're accompanying somebody else singing the verses, or somebody else playing that verse-based melody. Let's move on and cover the chorus section of the tune. Let's look at measure number 1. This is on line 5 of the tab. Basic strum followed by some drop thumbing. Pay attention to exactly what strings you're hitting and the drop thumb portion of this measure. Try that again for you. And that'll take us to measure 2, playing over a D7 chord, again to some boom chicka, followed by some drop thumb. Watch the phantom stroke in there as well. That'll take us to measure 3 on this line. Boom chicka, boom chicka. Alright, that'll take you to, this will be line number 6 of the tab. That's the first measure of that line. One more time. And that'll take us into measure number 2, this line. It's a boom chicka, followed by some double thumbing or some drop thumbing. Watch the phantom stroke again. Next measure, we are over that D7 chord again, doing the same thing we did in a previous measure. And that'll take us to the next line. I believe this is line number 7 in your tab, and this should look familiar to you. Nothing fancy, some basic strumming, and a little bit of hammer on in there in the second half of the measure. Measure number 2 on this line. Again, something we've already done in a previous measure, so just pay attention to the subtleties here. We're doing boom chicka followed by some drop thumbing. I think I missed one of the strings there. So we're supposed to miss the phantom string, but I also hit one of the wrong notes for you, so I'll repeat that. It's a little better. Next line of this tab, again, something we've already played in a previous measure, so this is just a repeat idea. Takes us on to line number 8, playing over a D7 chord. A lot of repeat ideas from here on out, so and any of the repeat ideas, I'll just give you one run through the measure. So here's measure 1, line 8. Here's measure 2. And measure 3. Again, I'm just playing all these for you once because we've already covered the exact melodic ideas in previous measures. Let's move on to line number 9, measure number 1. Measure 2. And the final line, measure 1. And measure 2, the final measure of the arrangement. That does it for the measure by measure breakdown. Go ahead and play through the whole arrangement nice and slowly. We'll start from the first measure and just play it all the way through to the end for you. 2, 3, 4. And do the chorus.